Since she's young and untouched, they're already fantasizing about making a fortune offer. But the amount of resentment and anger etched across Arthur's face makes it clear that these bastards aren't going to leave this place alive, let alone make a quick buck off the elf. Arthur had no idea how these pigs managed to get their hands on forest hounds, but he knew that getting one of them would be his best bet to get out of this forest. And as for the slave traders, he is planning to use them as a punching bag to blow off some steam. As eager as Arthur is to get back home, he knows he still needs a solid plan to get there. Dealing with those slave traders first is the best course of action, but he doesn't want to strike blindly. Attacking all 4 of them head-on would be suicide, so he quietly follows them instead. He waits patiently, looking for the perfect opportunity, gathering his strength to strike when their guards are down. As night falls, it's finally time for him to make his move. Arthur executes his plan by throwing a nut into a nearby tree, which immediately sets the hounds on high alert. One of the men tells his companion to shut the dogs up before they wake up and attract all the dangers lurking in the forest. While one man is distracted with the hounds, Arthur seizes the opportunity. He makes his move by appearing right in front of the bastard, and with a quick slash from his mana-infused hand, he slices through the man's throat in one clean strike. After taking that bastard down, Arthur makes sure to loot his corpse, grabbing a decent-looking dagger from the man's belongings. Meanwhile, the other fat guy, who had sent his friend to silence the hounds, begins wondering why it's taking so long, especially since the dogs have gone quiet. When he goes to check, Arthur ambushes him as well, delivering a precise strike that slits his throat just like the first. With 2 down, there are still 2 left, but Arthur's body is already starting to wear out from the effort. Suddenly, the elf girl inside the carriage starts making a commotion, which is the last thing Arthur wanted to happen. The other 2 goons step out of their comfort zones and start looking around for their missing companions. Arthur stays hidden behind the carriage, but one of them senses something and attacks. Arthur barely manages to block the strike and counters by cutting the man's legs clean off. The piercing scream echoes through the night, catching the attention of the other bandit, who had been searching in the opposite direction. He rushes back to the scene, finding his friend writhing on the ground, mortally wounded. The injured baldy bastard warns his friend to be careful because the brat they're dealing with is a mage. The mention of a mage piques the curiosity of the long-haired bandit. He eagerly tosses the sword aside and opts to use his bare hands, clearly not wanting to harm this golden hen he is about to capture. After all, this brat might fetch an even higher price than the elf girl if they are to sell him in good condition. With that in mind, he charges forward. Arthur leaps away just in time and counters by throwing a rock straight at the bastard's face. The rock lands with enough force to leave the man bleeding from his mouth. Arthur tries to take advantage of his dazed situation by throwing a mana-induced dagger at him, but the bandit snatches it mid-air. This strike only serves to intrigue this bastard even more, to think that this kid indeed has some nasty tricks up his sleeve. The bandit launches a powerful kick, slamming into Arthur with enough force to rattle his small frame and send him crashing to the ground. For a moment, Arthur is completely out of commission, winded and vulnerable. The bandit doesn't hesitate before grabbing the little one from the ground, locking him in his grip, but Arthur isn't one to go down quietly. He quickly grabs this bastard's wrist and begins condensing mana into his hand. At one particular moment, the technique causes an explosion, big enough to leave the bandit's hand scorched and utterly useless. The bandit screams in pain because of his fried hand. This is a clear chance for our boy to strike, and he does not hesitate to redeem it. He throws his knife and slits the man's throat, ending him on the spot. Now only the bald man remains, who is already writhing on the ground, begging for mercy as his severed legs leave him completely immobilized. But Arthur abandoned the concept of mercy a long time ago for scumbags like these. So it goes without saying that he finishes the job, ensuring none of them leave the forest alive. With these scumbags taken care of, he turns to the timid elf girl whose first instinct upon seeing our boy is to cower in fear. He gently tries to sway all of her fear with some sweet talk and comforting words, and once she calms down, he pulls the cloth tied over her mouth. Now that he has saved her, he decides to walk his own path, but the thought of being left alone terrifies the girl, so she quickly clings to him with her cute, pleading eyes. Arthur tries to reason with her that since he has taken care of those bad guys, they won't be able to chase her anymore. Besides, elves are generally safe in this forest anyway. But the girl quickly shakes her head and reminds him that beasts are only scared of adults, and her parents said that kids will get eaten by hounds or golem trees. The thought of being a babysitter does not sit well with Arthur, but since he has no choice, he just reluctantly asks her how far her home is, to which the girl nonchalantly responds that she does not know. He lets out a sigh and begins to walk away, assuring her that he is simply going to gather some supplies for them. Although he salvaged what he could for the journey ahead, neither of them knew how long it would take, and he also had to think about the journey back. He feels quite sad to see that they can't take this carriage in use as it would have been way faster, but if he did, they would just stick out like a sore thumb. He is looking forward to finding the elves as they might have something that can take him back to the human kingdom. During his supply hunting, he found some clothes in the carriage and presents them to the little elf, and tells her to wear this cloak as it will probably get cold. The little lady is glad for his kind gesture, and he gives her a pat on the head in response. With that, they are ready to make their way to their homes. As they walked in the vague direction she pointed to, Arthur got to know more about the elf child. Her name is Tessia Aerolith, and she got separated from her family and left out in the forest. She questions him if he is from the human kingdom. Whenever she remembers the human kingdom, all she thinks of are the rumors that say all male humans are perverts and have more than one wife. In their journey, they spend their time like this, with back-and-forth banter and teasing. Night settled, and they set up their camp in the thick of the woods. Arthur decided to keep watch outside and suggested she have some sleep in the meantime. Once Tessia Aerolith got inside the camp to have some well-deserved rest, Arthur sat alone under the expanse of brightly lit stars. As he reflects on his situation, we learn that his initial plan to utilize his time to figure out what this will Sylvia left for him was all about, but it looks like he will have to wait to unravel this secret until he escorts the elf girl to her home. The girl gets out and suggests he have some rest as well. Although her grandmother has prohibited her from sharing her bed with boys, she says she will make an exception once. But Arthur tells her that he is not sleepy. Before retreating back into the camp, the girl reminds him that beasts are more likely to appear if they notice him. Therefore, she wants him to get inside even if he is on guard duty, as it's safer for both of them. Eventually, Arthur gives in to her wishes, and they both get into the same bedding. The next day arrives, and after their well-deserved naps, they continued their journey with unfamiliar surroundings and time quickly passing as the only indicators of their progress. Arthur admits that worries of family and impatience to get back home did not leave him in the best of moods, but what made the journey almost unbearable were the agonizing pains coming from his monocore that struck unpredictably from time to time, and his pain has become an everyday occurrence. Every day he wakes up, he is just randomly hit by it. On one particular day during their journey, we see that they are getting followed by these wild wolves, but my guy doesn't even look back when he throws that knife, which lodges itself into the tree next to the wolf's head. And soon, all of these poor bastards get the jump scare of their life. While Tessia Aerolith points her finger in the direction ahead of her, Arthur is hit by this unbearable pain in his chest once again. He quickly hides behind a tree so Tessia doesn't have to see the miserable state he's in because he's afraid she would only worry. Another night comes, and they set their camp in the thick of the woods, and just like that, another day arrives. Days passed like this, and Tessia appeared to recognize more and more of their indistinguishable surroundings, which was a positive sign. However, their pace had slowed as Tessia's body couldn't keep up with the toll of constant travel. So, to ease some burden off her tiny shoulders, Arthur takes her luggage himself, though Arthur wasn't having it easy either. Despite strengthening his body with mana, the pain continued to grow, and it became harder to hide it from the worried elf. Another night comes and blends back into a day. One day, as they continue their journey, Tessia makes an odd request. Since they've gotten pretty close with each other, she wonders if, by any chance, she can call him Art, like how his family does. Well, our boy gives her the green light right away. Tessia wasn't expecting him to agree to this so easily. So for that reason, Arthur decides to act dramatic on purpose. In the creepiest way possible,